I bet.
Because most of the sea shanties were written, like, way back in the, whatever you might call it.
A
But
long time ago.
yeah, like 16th century and stuff. But there's a lot of things that have been like redone, so you have to be careful about like, are you using the original one or are you using the old one? It's a lot of fun. Okay. God, got people showing up. It's crazy.
Dang.
Oh, they can hear
The
us.
heck?
Whoops.
Oh shoot.
What is going
We'll
on,
figure that out
everybody? Might as well intro so y'all can hear us already. Welcome back to the Practically Reality Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We have taken a week off because Declan was at a very important conference last week. We couldn't find a time to slip in a little recording, but we're back. Back as always, boys. So, welcome to the Practically Reality Podcast. We go live every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. My name is Garrett, also known as Garrett the Gamer, and I am joined, as always, by my good buddy, Declan! Oops, I turned it off.
What's up, everybody?
Oh,
How's it going?
He's not working. Why aren't you working?
Oh no.
Rip.
The end. The stream ended.
The stream. There we go. We found Declan, guys. We found him.
There we go.
There he is.
I'm here.
We just end this
How's
stream.
everybody doing?
The world's fastest live stream. Speed run the live stream. Why is that like that? Why did I put it in that order? I'm so foolish. I have the intro and the outro scenes right next to each other in OBS.
Probably, you just control copied them.
I probably did. That's exactly what happened. I'm gonna stick outro at the end here. Hang on. Ah! We ended it again.
I know how the programmer brain works.
Copy paste. That's all we got. Anyway, what's up, dude? How you doing?
What's up, man? Good. How are you?
Dude, this has been a weird week for Sail VR and for a lot of things. We're making big plans for like the coming months because holidays coming up and whatnot.
Yeah. I bet that's a lot of planning ahead.
We're trying. Like one of the big problems with like game development that not a lot of people talk about is like the planning that goes into updates and stuff like that. Like, holy crap, I spend most of my time doing just the planning for it. That's wild.
Yeah. I can't even imagine during holiday season when you're, like, trying to get, Christmas updates or, like, Halloween, thinking of Black Friday sales. Like, you're going to do anything special for that. I'm sure there's tons of planning that goes into all that crap.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the biggest time of the year. Like, I mean, if you look at sales graphs of video games, like, across the board, Christmas is always your biggest day of the year. So we're really trying to make it so that sale is just, like, in a really good spot for Christmas and whatnot, and that's taken, like, a lot of effort. So, anyway, we've been planning that all out. Obviously, we also have, like, the Halloween event going right now for Sail VR, and then, yeah. So.
I need to pop in there and try it out. I haven't jumped in a minute.
I'm always impressed with the community. Like, my gosh, these guys are so smart. Like, because we said it, I was thinking like, okay, 666 skulls. The way it works, right, is the event is you collect these skulls and you donate them.
Okay.
And you get rewards for it, right? And if the community can get a total of 6,666,666, it will unleash part 2 of this event, right?
Uh-oh.
But I was thinking, for personal rewards, if you get 666 skulls, you get all of the rewards. And I was like, surely that's going to be super hard. But no, like, the community, like, figures out, like, basically game hack. Not hacks, like, it's straight up just gameplay. They figured it out real quick.
Grinding.
And I was like, wow, you guys are...
grinding, man.
You guys are something
How many
else.
are they up to right now?
We just passed, I think we're almost at 2 million right now. So we're like a third of the way there. It's crazy.
When'd you start?
0.
No, when? Like...
Oh, like a week ago. It went live literally a week ago. So.
And then what's the deadline?
We're hoping that phase 2 happens before Halloween. We'll see.
Oof. You guys gotta hurry.
Yeah, hurry up, chat. What are you doing?
I'll go get one. Put you guys in the right on the path. That's how I contributed to Helldivers as well. Participate for one day and then freaking rag on the rest of the community if they don't get the thing done in time. Like, what the fuss, guys? Come on.
Come on!
I worked so hard for those 4 hours that I played.
I just introduced my brother to Helldivers. Yeah. Because my brother, like, he's a gamer, but he's a pilot and a ranch hand. So, like, he only gets to play video games like every once in a while. He doesn't have his own system, so he came over the weekend. I showed him Helldivers, and I was like, "Dude, do you want to stream this?" He's like, "No, I just want an experience." But man, I wish we had streamed it. It was so funny. He was like the funniest first time Helldiver I've ever seen. But he loved it, dude.
Helldivers, I bet, just gets good clips because of the random stupid stuff that can happen in the video game.
But like, it's also so cinematic, like the entire time.
Yeah, for sure.
It looks so good. So even if you're doing something stupid, like jumping off of a cliff to throw down a hell bomb, like it looks good, and it's funny as fuck. I love that game. I still love that game.
Have you played Space Marines 2 more since you streamed it?
No, that's kind of the funny thing about this is like everyone's like, oh, Space Marines killed Helldivers, and I'm like, I went back to Helldivers after playing Space Marine. I was like, this is fun, I guess, but Helldivers is just, I like it so much better. I like it so much better.
I mean, we talked about it last time. I feel like Space Marines is just a mob like loot and shoot type thing, whereas Helldivers is like way more progression and like specific update or specific objectives and stuff. Each gameplay is a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
One of my biggest critiques of what's it called, Space Marine. This is a personal preference thing. Like I know this is like kind of one of those things across the board, but I despise health bars with all my heart. Okay. I just do not like health bars. And that's one of the things in Space Marine that like they had like health bars, and I'm kind of like, and they have like a lot of UI stuff, whereas Helldivers very much relies on like it's pretty immersive, you know?
Yeah.
But like Space Marine has a lot of like UI elements that like cue you to like, you know, stuff incoming and whatnot. And it makes for some good experiences, but at the same time, I just don't love UI. I'm very much like a what do you call it? There's a word for it. Diegetic. I love diegetic UI.
I've never even heard of that before.
So diegetic is a term that was created by the creators of Dead Space. Because one of the things they determined to do in Dead Space as they were making the game is they wanted to make it so that everything made sense in the world. So like your health bars, like your backpack basically, and like how much of your like special you have is also indicated on your back. Like everything exists in real world time, which makes it so like immersive as you go about it. So that's a fun little word for you, diegetic UI. It's a good one.
That's so interesting. I feel like people are trying to replicate the UI inside of video games in the real world now, like using XR, which is crazy to think that there's like such a pushback to get rid of so much of the UI that's in video games, you know?
That's really funny that you say that, because like I have often joked that video game developers are going to be the people who figure out how to make everything in life work well, because if you can make it fun, you can make anyone do it, right?
Yeah.
Like I can't even tell you the number of times people tell me like, hey, do you think you can gamify XYZ and make it fun?
Oh yeah.
It's like,
you can gamify anything.
I mean, you can gamify anything, but like whether or not people will do it as, I'm sorry, but working at Walmart is never going to be as fun as playing Helldivers, you know? Like, it's just what it is.
Hey, I saw a crazy video. I think it was probably like After Effects somebody made it, but saw a video of somebody that basically laid a skin over his entire kitchen.
Wait, I saw that. I saw that too. With like a, it looked like it was like a Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What, dude? Is that possible? Because I looked at that and I was like, okay, this is like obviously like an AI After Effect that he was just doing.
Yeah.
But like,
I think in theory you could probably do something like that. I think with AI for sure you can get there. I don't know if that was a real video or if it was something that was done in post, but I think in theory something like that is possible now, to like overlay skins on the real world around you.
Like, okay, so if it's what I'm thinking of, it's like he's like walking around his kitchen and then he like pushes a button and it switches to like 1950s and it switches to like caveman, it switches to like horror mode, right? It's like I'm guessing he didn't do that in real time. Although the horror mode one, have I told you about oh gosh, what's the game called? There's a VR horror game right now. Actually, it's a mixed reality horror game on the Quest.
Okay.
That is fantastic because you map out your entire living area and then it turns it into a horror game by making it look dark, and all you can see is where you put your flashlight. It's really cool. Impressive. And then it's like it's your real world space, so it's like super interesting as you're like walking around your actual house running away from like this phantom lady. Gosh dang it, what is the name of that one? Gosh dang. They pop up on my TikTok feed all the time. It's such an interesting game. There's been a few of those like that.
I think with like mixed reality stuff, that's all becoming way more possible. I mean, the way that mixed reality works is most of the devices have some sort of lidar or cameras,
Right.
where it overlays or grabs a mesh of the world in front of you. So in theory, if you have that mesh data, you can use AI to kind of determine maybe what some objects are, and then you could use AI to kind of like they do with the filters a lot of the times now on TikTok. I don't know if you've used it where you can type in a prompt and it'll give you like a
Oh yeah.
version of yourself to mix with the prompt.
Yeah, I've
I
seen
bet you
those.
could do that with the meshes inside of a mixed reality headset pretty easily. It would probably not be instant, but you could probably come up with a solution for something like that. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be interesting. I mean, even if like I mean, just imagine this for a second. What if you were to like map out your house and kind of give it that mesh data and then be like, "Hey, make this 1950s." And it would take like a couple minutes, but then you could go through and walk through it again. That would be cool. Like even if it took a second to like render that and figure that out, I think that would be kind of an interesting thing. And I don't know. I feel like that's the kind of future stuff that we're going to see more and more with it mixed reality getting more cool and usable.
Yeah, I think so I went to this conference this last week and I saw a lot of like interesting use cases of using AI inside of mixed reality. So just for people who don't know, I still work in like the commercial side of the XR industry. A lot of like training, a lot of simulation, a lot of companies that are looking to change the way that they get their employees onboarded. Um, so what a lot of the people were using was AI to do like instructional videos. They're using Gen AI to be like tour guides or maybe be instructors. Um, there's not a lot of like image overlays going on inside of the enterprise world, but there's a lot of AI being used for different things. So because we have like social AI, things in social media filters, like we were talking about earlier, where they take your picture or use your video to overlay some crazy like new materials on top of a person. I would imagine you'd be able to do that a lot inside of mixed reality in a new way, but it's pretty crazy um, what like industries doing with AI and XR together. They're changing a lot of the way that like people work in a lot of different giant blue collar industries. I don't know if you guys have ever been to like a giant factory to do training. Sometimes they have to shut off machines, and they cost millions of dollars a day to operate on machines for training. So they're incorporating it into virtual reality and augmented reality, and now you can do those trainings without those overhead costs. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really cool things happening with different types of computer vision, uh, different types of like scanning different areas and overlaying cool content. Um, Honestly, I was surprised at how many people use the HoloLens so regularly. That was a very big shock to me. Is the HoloLens is still very predominant in a lot of industries, and they have no idea how they're going to replace it now that it's canceled.
I feel like the HoloLens had a really good sales team. Like
Yeah,
they got everywhere, and I don't know. We both touched that hardware. I don't feel like it was super special, but like again, I just feel like they had somebody selling that thing like crazy, and it did well. I don't know. It's weird.
yeah.
Uh, I don't know, dude. I if I were to be like someone advising like, oh, you need to replace the HoloLens, what would you replace it with? I feel like I mean, what did the HoloLens cost? It was like $600 or something, right?
The HoloLens? No, the HoloLens was like $3,000.
Oh, well then like it's on par with the Vision Pro. Like the Vision Pro would be like the same amount of work. The workflow would be harder for developers
Yeah.
to create the stuff, but I feel like they would I don't know, it's the same price. I don't know.
So there's a lot of things that you need to like switch out. So okay, a lot of people that are working on heavy machinery that's really dangerous to work on, they don't want low latency pass through. They don't want anything covering their eyes. So augmented reality is the perfect use case for it because it's transparent. You can see what's going on.
That makes sense.
So yeah, the Apple Vision Pro is not a real option for them because they don't want that low latency pass through. They don't want anything covering their face. Because in like an emergency situation, even a couple of milliseconds when you're working with very dangerous machinery can be, a big difference if something's going to go wrong.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I guess in that context, the Vision Pro would not work for safety reasons. That's interesting. But something like Meta's Orion would maybe be a good fit as well. But needs more processing power. That thing doesn't have. We'll see. When it actually comes out, I'm curious what it'll be.
So one of the craziest things I learned a lot about was the live streaming. So we talked about Google Stadia a couple weeks ago, right? And about how it failed. There was something really, really interesting they were talking about. So both Unity games and Unreal games have live streaming services built into like their platform. So I can't remember the exact terminology. Each one's a little bit different, but it's like
I know Unreal Engine has they call it cloud graphics processing, which basically offloads the graphical intensity onto cloud stuff. I was unaware that Unity had that though. But I did know that Unreal had a way to do graphical computations on a cloud basis, which neither here nor there.
Let me find it because I took a note about it. Let's see. Pixel streaming is from Unreal Engine. So pixel streaming is when you're live streaming a VR application onto like a mobile device. And apparently it's really, really good. One of the guys I talked to a lot at that conference worked for a company that was doing pixel streaming. And then, let's see. Let me figure out what Unity's is called. But essentially, you're able to live stream VR applications straight to devices very quickly. And he told me he didn't really know why Google Stadia and why Amazon's are so poor, the way their products failed so bad, because you can actually do really, really good live streaming. I think the biggest problem was the price of the servers.
Yeah.
So they were trying to do it too cheap, but
I think it's a marketing thing more than anything. Like we talked about with Stadia, like I had a long conversation with one of the developers about like why they thought it failed, and it was literally like no fault of the actual service itself. I felt like it was actually more of a fault of the administration and stuff. And like I talk about this all the time, but I have the cloud gaming version of Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
And it works fantastic. Like I played it just for kicks and giggles. I played it on one of those like live streaming in crazy places just to see if it would work. And it did.
Yeah.
Like that stuff works really well. I freaking love it. But I don't know. That's interesting.
So Unity's is called render streaming. Unity render streaming.
Oh, I see it. Yeah. Render streaming.
So yeah, I mean, one of the companies that I was there doing stuff with at this conference, I wanted to show you guys this product that they're making. So this is it right here. It's called the Zap Box. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. So it's called the Zap Box. It uses your phone as the hardware. So it costs $100. They're being sold at GameStop right now. And it's all web-based and app-based VR. So it's essentially a VR headset that you can buy everything. It's a 6 degrees of freedom VR headset that uses your phone as the processing power. They kind of marketed it as like Google Stadia, or not Google Cardboard, took a nap for a couple years and woke up and it was a real VR device. So it comes with these controllers right here. They are mapped the same way as all of the other VR controllers. So they have all of the buttons that you would normally have for a VR game or VR headset. And then it tracks using these little dots on here. So that's how it's doing all of its tracking for the VR headset. And then it's using the wide angle lens of an iPhone to basically like do live low latency pass through. So it's a mixed reality device. And then you just kind of put your phone, let me put this together real fast. Put your phone in here.
people are asking, like, is this, if I have $300 to Best Buy, would it be better to get this or get a MetaQuest 3?
I mean, I would still get a Quest 3 for now. This is interesting. Like, it's an interesting use case for the next little bit. They're still trying to figure out a couple things. So they're working on hand tracking right now. They're working on, let's see, live streaming. So like the pixel streaming and render streaming. They're working on bringing that to this device. So if you look right here, you just mount your phone in like this. And it does like a little split camera lens thing where it's basically using foveated rendering and regular like VR rendering stuff to make it look really good. I used it a lot. They were telling me that they were live streaming Half-Life Alyx from their PC to their mobile phones. They're working on the streaming app right now so that you can stream from your mobile phone to your computer and do VR from your PC VR. And then they they were able to play Half-Life Alyx successfully without any problems. There's still like a couple of little things that they're working out. They're doing this GameStop run as a test to see what the market's like.
Right.
But in reality, like, this could be kind of like a Google Stadia for VR, or mixed reality. They have all of the mixed reality stuff as well. They're working on a 3D printed version, so you can customize it to be like however you want it to be. You can make it, but they're calling it a phone accessory. They're trying to, the whole purpose of this company is to make XR more accessible. So they actually make a web XR engine that I use pretty regularly. But I'm going to be trying to work with them over the next little bit to come up with some unique titles for this type of headset, because it still uses, like, it still has a little bit of tracking problems. So they actually control tracking with these like little pieces of paper right here.
Interesting.
So that's how it does all the tracking. You just kind of put them on the desk in front of you. So like for desk games, like I told them Demio would be a really cool use case to see if they could get a port of Demio for it. It would track really, really well. But they're working on like a multiplayer solution, and it's all run. You can do Unity games. You can build Unity apps for it. You have to download their APK and then put it in your Unity program, and it'll run. But it's also built for WebXR. So, like last week, we talked about HeyVR.io and how they have a bunch of free VR games. There's another platform called Spatial.io that you can go to on your VR headset. They have a ton of web-based VR games that you don't have to have apps for. They're all free. But they're trying to basically make that, like, I don't know if any of you guys were alive for the Flash games era of the internet when Flash games became super popular. They're kind of calling this like the Flash games revolution for virtual reality as well, which is
Flash games.
Super interesting.
That is super interesting. Huh. That'll be an interesting one. So there was kind of in the same realm. I mean, obviously, like, I've always thought, like, why aren't we using the phone? I've always thought something like this product, like, would eventually come along. There used to be like a Samsung headset that did this, remember?
Yeah.
And then there was obviously like the Google Cardboard, which was super interesting. But the one most recently that I've seen that was kind of interesting to me was there was what's the name of that company? Pimax.
Yeah, Pimax.
Did you ever see their one that was like a handheld and a 6DoF headset? Like, it was like this,
okay.
Like, it looked like a Nintendo Switch. So, like, there was, like, a version of it where you had, like, a Nintendo Switch version where, like, the controller slid into the side and it was, like, a tablet. But then you could also slide it into the front of a headset, and it had basically extra hardware to give you that 6DoF tracking, like, something similar to what the Quest 2 was. And they were selling it, and it was kind of interesting. I never got to try it out. I saw it at one of the conventions I went to last year, but I never actually got to try it, because they were like, oh, this is just like a display version. We don't actually have it working. But it was kind of an interesting, like, idea, like a use case, you know, like if you have the hardware that works for one thing, why not duplicate it to work for another thing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think nobody in the industry, everybody felt like Google Cardboard was a setback for VR and AR, but like it made it accessible for a ton of people around the world to try out. And like there were problems with it. People
Absolutely.
got sick using it because it wasn't like worked on very well. It was kind of just a prototype. But these guys have put in a ton of work for the Zapbox, and everybody that came by was extremely surprised at how well it worked. Like see something like that, and it's like, whatever. Like $100, it's cheap. Like if it does anything, it'd be pretty cool. But it actually works really well. We had Meta was there at that conference too, and they had a couple people, like come and look at it, and they were impressed at how well it worked.
That's interesting.
And it's just a very scalable solution. Like if you had a classroom where you wanted to teach people in VR, imagine spending $1,000 on 10 of those versus $3,000 for 10 of the 3S's. Like, or if you're in areas where you have like a work phone that has security problems where you have to have like a secure device.
Right.
You don't have to get a VR headset secure. It's already secure because it's using the same security device as your smartphone. So there's just a lot of benefits to a device like that. I think the biggest part for like a consumer market for players is there's not like a killer app straight out the box.
Right.
But I think it's on their radar now that they need to look into something like that, and I'm hopefully going to be able to help them come up with something fun that's like a good tabletop multiplayer game.
Or just build Beat Saber. That's what everyone wants these days. Just build Beat Saber or Gorilla Tag in the game, and there you go. You're popular.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've always thought of, because like, you know, I lived in a third world country for a couple of years, and I've always thought about those people, and I've always thought, you know, like there's no chance they would be able to afford like a Quest 3 because, you know, like $1 to their currency is like, you know, 7 to 1, right? So I've always thought, you know, like how could you make this accessible to a, you know, like a third world country audience, and like a 3D printed version like that? Like that's interesting. I'd be very curious. We'll have to keep up to date with that. I'm curious to see what you come up with.
Yeah, I'll like as cool things are happening with it. I'll let you guys know. Like I said, right now, they're being distributed through GameStop online, so you can buy them online. They're at like, I think they said like 20 or 30 physical locations, just trying it out.
That's not bad.
To try and get people, or like the GameStop employees onboarded. But then over the next little bit, they're going to try and get them into more or all of the physical stores, and then try and get them into other retailers like Walmart and stuff as well.
That's cool. GameStop has been interesting lately because I also heard that GameStop was going to start, I don't know if it was selling or just having an experience there, but have you heard of Vario? The headset Vario?
Yeah, for sure.
GameStop said they were doing something with Vario. Let me see if I can find that news article. Vario Aero headset becomes available at GameStop. What? So, like, for those of you who don't know, Vario, spelled Varjo, is like the top of the line VR headset. This is like what they use for like flight simulators, and it's like $5,000 a piece to get any of it. But this is saying that the hardware and software will become available to GameStop customers in North America. Huh. This was back in 2022. I wonder if anything came of this. That's so interesting. Because this was their Vario Aero, which was like their lowest price one. It was like very, very much like a high-end consumer. But I mean, like I know PC VR like players who like they will pay top dollar for a headset to be as graphically intensive as possible, and this one was pretty crazy. Anyway.
Yeah. A lot of people are saying, well, I mean, I'm looking at Sonny's comments. He said, I have a lot of good VR games in my library, but I feel like most game devs try to make something that could be equal on a flat screen done in VR. VR is a new frontier of games, and VR games have to take advantage of that, especially movement. That's very true. I feel like with the store opening up for the meta market, like there's gonna be a lot of people porting over 2D games into 3D space, and it's gonna be really weird to see that happen. I remember when like Skyrim, when they ported Skyrim over, and it just sucked. Nobody wanted to play it.
But the modders,
it's hard. Yeah,
the modders are what made that game playable in VR. Actually, like they took
for
that
sure.
to the next level
When it first came out.
Oh yeah, have you ever played the default? You ever just loaded that in on Steam?
Oh, it's terrible.
It's
dude.
horrible. It's really bad. But you download a couple mods from whatever that mod website is, and it's like, it's a top tier game. I mean, like, you know, you can do everything with the same interactions you could expect out of like Blade and Sorcery. Like it's impressive. Like, but yeah, it'll be interesting as like the marketplace continues to develop, because again, my philosophy with game development has always been like, people play games to do something they can't do in real life, right? And like the interesting thing with VR is it takes that even a step further, where it's like you can get both a hyper realistic simulation of what's not real life, or like the way that I like to put it, there's like the practically reality simulation of thing, right? Where it's still fun but not exactly. Like Sail VR is like, everything about that game is a testament to that. Like if you were to actually sail a pirate ship, it is a lot of work with a lot of steps and like managing sails and all that. If we were to do that realistically, the game would look very, very different. But we opted in for a very like not necessarily arcadey, but like a simplified version of it that gives you like the feeling that you're doing what you want to, like what you're expecting to do, but at the same time you still get that feeling of, I am doing this thing. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's where VR has to go for like the mainstream people, is you're giving them the illusion that they're doing that thing that they've always wanted to do, but it's not as difficult as it actually would be in real life. Yeah. If that makes sense.
I love like the climb. I mean, the climb is so cool. Some of the environments in there, I still think it's one of the most underrated VR games, just because I'm terrified of heights. I would never go free climbing. But some of the places that you capture in the climb is really cool. And like, it's unique because you probably won't ever have the opportunity to do that in real life. So, I don't know. I feel like I've always felt like VR needs to be letting you do something that's not actually possible to like make it worthwhile. And I mean, that's not always the case, right? Video games all kind of do that. That's all like escapism, but
sure.
Yeah, the interactivity of VR is pretty unique. Like, if you can't grab everything in a VR game, I feel like you're not really living up to the potential of a VR game. Like, that's one of the things I love about Sail. I know it's a silly mechanic, but just being able to, like, uncork the health potion
and goes such a long way.
The health potion, yeah, that's so different, too.
Yep.
Like, normally you just grab the health potion. It's so silly, but that's one of the craziest things that I feel like people just don't pay enough attention to, that type of detail.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I literally got in fights with one of the like employees I worked with when I was contracting about this, because they're like, no, in traditional game design, you try to make things as simple as possible for the sake of the player could do it without fail. And I was telling them, like, look, no, in virtual reality, adding a few extra steps feels good because of the interactiveness of virtual reality, you know? And he fought me really hard on that one. It was kind of an interesting one. But like, I totally agree with you. Like, in virtual reality, those little things, you know, like reloading a gun even, you know, like every shooter game, if you don't have some kind of interesting and fun to do reload mechanic, it's not as satisfying.
No, for sure.
Me and the whole Sail VR team, actually, this last week, we jumped into a game called Animal Company. I know a lot of people have been asking me to play this on stream, but I actually did play it with my team, and it was so interesting, because the whole premise of the game is it's basically Lethal Company, but with Gorilla Tag movement. But the thing that I found so intriguing about the game is like that Gorilla Tag movement makes it so that everything you do in the game is satisfying, because that movement is like, it's a skill in and of itself to master.
For sure.
You know, Gorilla Tag is such an interesting like study case of what works in VR, and I am so excited for their new game from Another Axiom. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be so
remember good. For years we were trying to investigate like what's the best movement mechanic in VR. I remember my favorite for a long time was Gorn. Gorn was like,
it's the swinging one, right?
It's the one where you have to pull yourself, like you're on a rope, so you're kind of pulling yourself in any direction. But it was like one of the first ones where it wasn't just using a thumbstick to like teleport or move like a regular controller. It was built into the game. I do like gorilla tags. I am the worst at gorilla tag movement though. Like I'm such a like boomer, I guess. I don't know. So many of the younger kids games that people love, I have such a hard time with it nowadays.
Oh, I get that. Like it is hard, but like that's kind of what's fun about it too. Is it is a skill. Like getting good at gorilla tag movement is a skill, and like so my whole team, like we all jumped into this game, right? And we were talking about it afterwards because I have the full spectrum of people on my team. Like you've got my lead dev who also is just like that part of his brain where like VR motion sickness lives has just died, so like nothing phases him. But then we also have our lead artist who is very new to VR and very much gets motion sick like easily, which is kind of nice as the team because we can kind of say, hey, will you jump into this real fast and see if it makes you sick? And it helps us to figure out like whether or not our game design is well done such that people won't get sick. But she was saying after playing, like we literally played like an hour and a half of this game. She was saying that after that time, she's like, I'm not sick. Like I don't feel bad at all. Like something about that like monkey arm swing, dude, feels good in the brain. Like that's the most bizarre thing, but hey, like they did figure it out.
I had a question. I'm kind of reading chat and stuff and like seeing what people are talking about, but what is a genre of video game that you feel like you haven't seen come to VR yet that you would like to see or like at least hasn't come in a good way to VR yet that you would like to see in VR?
So one that I feel like a lot of people have tried, but I don't feel like very many people have succeeded at is like sports games. There's
That's interesting.
There's a lot of basketball games. I recently talked to the guys at Big Ballers VR about their game. We had an interesting conversation. And like I didn't know this, but like they have both basketball, baseball, football, and volleyball. But it's very much like a physics, not physics simulation. It's more of like a simulation, like trying to be the real thing. And it just doesn't feel good to me. I played gym class for a while there just to see, because that's another like super popular, free to play VR game, and I just never liked it. The one like VR sports game that I loved, which wasn't really a VR sports game, but it turned into a VR esport, was Echo. I freaking loved Echo.
Yeah,
like, that was incredible. And I feel like there's a couple things coming out soon that are interesting to me. Like we talked about that disc game that's coming out from was it A6? Yeah. That's like the more I think about that game, the more intriguing it is to me. I'm very curious to try it out. But like I said before, the makers of Gorilla Tag are working on another game that they're calling Orion Drift. And I've talked to a few people. I've tried to get into the beta myself and I still haven't been accepted. But I've talked to a few people in the beta, and they're like, "This is the most addicting sports gameplay I've played in I don't know when." Like the sports that they have created inside of Orion Drift are apparently so good. They work so well in VR, and so I'm like very curious with that.
That looks cool.
I'm really excited about it. And they've also like they've learned so much from Gorilla Tag as far as like anti-toxicity and stuff that I really think it's just gonna be super solid from the get-go. And like the guy who created Gorilla Tag, the guy Lemming is I think his name. He started out as a professional Echo VR player. Like that's where he started his VR journey, and then made Gorilla Tag from that. And I just think I don't know. I really like the guy. I think he's got the right head base for making cool VR games. So
yeah.
But man, other genres from that. I'm very curious to see the new Arkham VR Batman game.
I was wondering about that because it's supposed to come with a 3S. Is it out?
Yep, it released today. I have not jumped into it yet. It did come with the 3S. I have it downloaded on here. I'll have to jump in and try it. But that third person, like, how do you even explain it? You know that gameplay, like, where you fight like a mob, but it's all about like going to individual people. Like God of War is a perfect example of it. Like the whole Arkham series is a good example of it. Like I feel like a lot of flat screen games rely on that like third first
kind of
person.
Like a hack and slash.
Almost,
like
yeah.
Devil May Cry type thing.
Yeah. Like I don't know if anyone has done that super well. Also like horde shooters, hack and slashes. I don't really feel like I've seen a good hack and slash in VR.
Yeah, that's a hard genre. Like a lot of good hack and slashes I feel like depending on style points, but with something like gorilla tag movement, that'd be super interesting.
Yeah,
If you could do like a fun bouncy where you're like bouncing around on people and dealing damage to them that way, like pushing yourself off of enemy, like a low gravity hack and slash. That'd
that
be
would
kind of
be
interesting.
interesting. That would be interesting. I could see that working. I like my brain is racking itself to try to figure out like how would you keep track of style points in virtual reality? Because like in a flat screen game, it's easy because you can just keep track of like button combos and like
Yeah,
timing and stuff like that. Like that's a lot easier. But in virtual
yeah,
reality, where it's not as clear the points of style, like we actually
yeah.
we get this feedback all the time on hard drive, because in hard drive you could do lots of different tricks and like
Hmm.
backflips and stuff, and people have asked us like, oh, you should reward points for like cool tricks you do, and we sat there for a while and we're like, I have no idea how we would
How
keep
to-
track of whether or not you're doing a cool trick, you know.
yeah.
So anyway, kind of an
I
interesting.
think one of the genres for me that I would love to see more is a and it's just because I've been thinking about this genre a lot. Something that I really want to make in the next little bit. A rogue or not a rogue, like a Metroidvania, where like it's a platformer Metroidvania. I feel like VR platforming has been kind of explored. There was one like gorilla game too, where you had the claws and you like push yourself around everywhere, and you had to climb up different things and like shoot out your claws. And let me find it real fast. It had like gorilla tag movement. Um,
No More Rainbows, is that what you're talking about?
yeah. No More Rainbows. That one was fun.
Yeah, that was a cool
Uh,
one. That's kind of Metrovania-esque, is it?
Well, so Metroidvania is where you and we talked. So I remember early on in the development of Sail, we talked about making Sail more into a Metroidvania when there's the concept of like just a couple islands. I don't
Mm.
know if you remember where we were talking about having enemies come in from different areas, and then you kind of unlock a new ability, and then you would go to a different part of the island and it would be unlocked because you have more access to a different part of the island because of this new ability. So like if you
Oh
think
yeah.
about a Metroidvania, like classic would be you play, you have a single jump, you can only get to certain areas because you have a single jump, but then you unlock a double jump and now you can jump even further, so there's more of the terrain that's available to you. And then eventually you unlock like a wall climb mechanic, and you just build up your character's power, but that allows you to platform into new areas. I feel like that
That's
could be a really
interesting.
really fun like VR concept. I talked to you about a really really good Metroidvania that came out recently called Animal Well.
Yeah, I did
That's
like that.
published by Donkey. Yeah,
Hmm.
um, that'd be a lot of fun for like a VR concept. But like VR platforming, I feel like yeah, No More Rainbows was a lot of fun, and like the oh, what's it called? The one where you're a Russian cosmonaut and you have plungers that you shoot
Oh,
around in low
Jupiter
gravity.
grad.
Yeah. So like there's some fun platforming
Forgot
games,
about that game.
but a lot of like Moss is another example of VR platforming, or like the robot one that we had in the mixed reality lab. That was another example. Like there's so many different types of VR platformers that I don't know. I feel like maybe you don't need a Metroidvania, but I just really want one
Well,
so bad.
the concept of like only being able to access certain parts of a map after unlocking certain abilities, I feel like it would actually work really well with the gorilla tag movement, maybe combined with like another really big movement mechanic I see in VR all the time is like the Spider-Man web shooters, right?
Yeah.
Like if you ever played like Web Guy, that's a great one. Or oh, what's that other? There's a really fun one called
Well, that's what like Jupiter Grab is as well, right?
right.
Or Jupiter Grad. Yeah.
But like again, like one of the things I really appreciated about Animal Company, and I don't know if they did this on purpose or not, but they created a lot of areas in the game that were extremely difficult to get to, which
Yeah.
made it really fun. Because like one thing I do in a lot of video games is I just go wander off, right?
Yeah.
But in this game, it was really interesting because they created these areas where like if you wandered off and you could actually get up to these areas using the gorilla tag movement, which again is like a skill unto itself. If you could get up
Mhm.
to these exclusive areas, there was like little kind of cool hidden things for you and like potential rewards and stuff like that. So I feel like you could like make a really cool, because I feel like another thing about like Metrovanias is like a connected map as well, where it's like you usually
Yeah.
come back to like a certain spot or whatever to like go to another spot. Am I wrong on that? I feel like that's kind of how they work sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, you go back and forth. Like in Metroid games, you freaking go back to the beginning of the map sometimes, and you have to like redo something you did at the very beginning, but with like a new mechanic to get there. You know?
Yeah, yeah. It kind of. I mean, I remember the old Lego games where it's like you could like play through
Yeah.
like Lego Star Wars, like the first time you play through as the character, but then you could go back and play as other characters that had like abilities that would let you get to new areas. That's interesting. I don't know. I think that could work in VR if you built like a really explorable map that you had to like basically get your way through enemies and whatnot in one area, unlock a new ability, and that would allow you to get to new areas. That's interesting. That's an interesting one. I could see that.
So, No More Rainbows was a really fun platformer. There's another one I'm thinking of. Oh, To the Top was like a really, really early VR platformer that was a lot of fun. It was, yeah, something that I enjoyed a lot a couple years ago, even. That's
Oh,
one of
yeah,
the
yeah,
older
yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
And then, let me find. There's another one I'm thinking of that uses the Gorilla Tag movement, but just because that's like a standard now, it'd be interesting to go back and rethink through some of these genres using Gorilla Tag movement in a way that people haven't yet.
So, kind of along those lines, there was a guy who reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I'm rebuilding Sail VR, but with Gorilla Tag movement." And I kind of just told him like, "Hey, keep me posted on this. I'm kind of curious, you know." And it got me thinking, like, you know, could Sail VR work with Gorilla Tag movement, you know? And
Yeah,
like it, I mean, obviously, like it could, but like, would it have the same fun effect that like Sail VR has right now? You know, like,
yeah, and with I don't know, you kind of get to a point as well where you add in too many mechanics.
yeah. Like Sail VR
So
has a lot to it, you know. Like there's digging, there's reloading, there's the chest mechanics, the bottom. Like I feel like there's too much where I don't know. I don't know. We've been debating maybe for April Fools we'll switch over to Gorilla Tag movement for the day. Just
yeah,
like have a
that'd
funny
be funny.
one. It'd be kind of funny.
That'd be a crazy update. That'd be
That
so much work
I
for an
it,
April Fool's Day joke.
it actually wouldn't be that hard. We were looking into it.
No,
It's
you don't
like
think so?
it wouldn't be that bad. Like
That's
the
awesome.
Gorilla Tag movement is actually open source. Did you know that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can. I actually downloaded it the other day into a fresh project and was kind of screwing around with it for a couple game ideas I have. But
Let's dink around with it.
dude,
I'll do it
so
with you. I'll
dude,
play around with it.
do you think that's gonna be standard though? Like actually,
I
because
feel like it is standard already.
it's starting to be. I feel like all the new games that are coming out, and it's like, oh, and it's got Gorilla Tag movement. You know?
No, I feel like Gorilla Tag is revolutionary because of the movement system that they create. It was a problem in VR for years. People couldn't figure out a good way to move in VR. But it kind of solved one of the biggest problems for some games, right? Like, I wouldn't really think Gorilla Tag movement would be fun in a game like Swords and, or let's see, what's
Blade
the
and
one
Sorcery?
called that I'm thinking? Yeah, Blade and Sorcery.
Right.
Like, that wouldn't make sense.
Right.
But I feel like if you build it as a mechanic inside of a game, it makes sense. Like imagine I think it could be a lot of fun in a roguelike.
Yeah.
That's another genre of video game that I love. Okay, the one I was looking at, Out of Hand. That's another.
Oh
platformer.
yeah. That's another good one.
And
I
it
know
uses
Out of Hand, guys.
Gorilla Tag movement as well. It's a ton of fun. I played it a lot for a while.
That'll be so interesting. So I feel like the two standards of movement that exist right now in VR is number one, Gorilla Tag movement, and then number two, you've got the movement right stick, rotation left
Teleport.
stick. Which,
Yeah.
if that doesn't, honestly, I feel like teleporting has kind of gone away. I have
like-
not seen teleport in a while.
It would be a lot of people have it as like an option to implement, right?
In more casual
like
games,
a
yeah, but like
comfort
anything,
mode? Really?
anything competitive, I haven't seen a teleport game in a while that I
Yeah.
can think of. I don't know. Prove me wrong, chat. I don't know. But that's like speaking of movement, that was one of the reasons in hard drive originally we did the movement that we did in hard drive because we were like, oh, everything's confined to you on this motorcycle. We don't have to worry about the player going anywhere. But ironically enough, one of the big feedbacks we've gotten on our game hard drive is that people want to get off their bikes. They want to explore.
Yeah, explore.
And I was like, huh, that's super interesting. That's like what people are wanting. So
it'd be interesting to like add in. I don't know. You could do something interesting with hard drive like that. It'd be fun to have like a bar or something at the beginning where you pull up and you have everybody that's kind of just chilling.
That's kind of what we're thinking about doing, actually.
Cactus Jam is interesting because I like the way that they kind of are handling their main menu system, where you go into the bar to actually play the prop hunt game mode and stuff.
Also, Gorilla Tag
I kind
inspired.
of like their menu. Yeah, for sure.
The funny thing, one of the big critiques and things that I've told the devs of Cactus Jam is I think that their lobby area needs to have some kind of game mode associated with it. Because while it's super awesome that it's like, oh, if I want to go play prop hunt, I go into here. But if I want to go play, they have like capture the flag and they have horror mode. Like you go to different places. But in the actual just like main area itself, I feel like they also need to have some kind of like gameplay mechanic going on there. Because it's purely social right now, which is fun in its own sense. But I don't know. I feel like that was kind of one of the magics of Gorilla Tag is that you jumped into the game and like you're in the game. Like it's tag. No matter where you were, like you're playing tag. You know.
How many people do you think actually play tag? Okay, anybody in chat, if you play Gorilla Tag, how many of you actually play tag?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like, is that still something that people do? That's one of the things I don't know. Like, do people still play tag in Gorilla Tag?
Sonny's saying like 20% of the time people used to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like that's also. It's like a fallback thing though. Like if you're bored, it's like, well, there's always tag.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like people, I mean, I've seen crazy videos of people coming up with like, here's my obstacle course, see if you can't beat it, or you know, like other like they created their own game modes on top of tag, which was really unique. But
so one of the interesting things, I don't know if you've ever played Valorant, the like competitive shooter game for computer.
I played it like one time and got so frustrated I rage quit.
I think they okay, in the shooting practice area, they added in a platforming challenge. Like you can go around and
Call of Duty
practice
just
shooting
did this.
and yeah, isn't that cool? And like you can get, it's not like anything crazy, but you can get like cool notifications or like I don't know, you can get like a new charm or something for the game if you complete the platformer. It'll like time you, so they have internal speed running stuff for it. Like that kind of stuff is just fun.
Well,
that concept.
That's so funny that you say that because Call of Duty has this game mode right now. It's called Get Higher, and it's literally an obstacle course. And if you can complete it in under 10 minutes, it's this stupid long obstacle course that really requires you to know like all the movement in Call of Duty. And it's funny because it's like it actually gets you way better at the movement in Call of Duty at the same time of being like a good challenge. So like at the same time like they have this really cool unlock mechanic where if you get it in under 10 minutes you get this awesome weapon skin, but you're also like practicing. And I think they're my personal theory on it is they're doing it because Black Ops 6 is going to be so movement heavy. Like if you're not good at movement, you're gonna be screwed in that game. And so I think they're doing that as kind of like a let's get people prepped for this crazy movement that's about to happen.
I think like that kind of stuff is really fun to include in games. I feel like when you have something that's very, very heavily movement based, trying to get people just accustomed to the controls is very important. It's interesting that Black Ops is doing something like that. I don't know.
It's a huge point of contention right now because I know a lot of people are like, because their new movement system is called Omni Movement, which it performs a lot like Helldivers movement actually. That's kind of the feeling I got with it. It's like first person Helldivers movement in a game, and like I personally really liked it, but I know a lot of people are really hating it because like at those crazy movement people that you get like the pros and stuff, like they look ridiculous on screen. Like it is wild.
It's probably not very fun to watch.
I don't know.
Like as like somebody watching a stream, I feel like that's something that I'm discovering a lot lately. Is there games that are really fun to play, but they suck to watch. Yeah,
that's a huge thing about like I feel like VR struggles from this in particular.
Yeah,
like it is really hard to like a lot of the VR games are super fun to play, but not all of them look good when you try to post about them and stuff. You know, like I've done a lot of stuff in Sail VR specifically to make it so that it is fun to like post about by providing tools like QuestCam and stuff inside of it.
Yeah.
But one of my theories about why like Blade and Sorcery and Gorilla Tag, why they've gone so viral, is like clips from that game look good. Like they just look intriguing. I don't know if it's just the style they chose or what, but both Blade and Sorcery and Gorilla Tag, if you just see a raw clip of that game, like it's interesting to look at and watch. Whereas not all VR games can say that, you know.
For sure. Yeah, that's interesting. Like a lot of the cool competitive games that I really like, people just don't like watching them. Like some of the first-person shooters and stuff. Do you think Fortnite was fun to watch?
I think it has an appeal to it because it's that third person. You know, like there's more to see than like first-person shooters. Because again, like going back to the movement thing, I jumped on a stream of someone on Twitch where they're playing Warzone or whatever, and their movement was so choppy, like it was like watching someone have a seizure. It was so crazy. It's like I'm not watching this, you know. Whereas like Fortnite, no matter how crazy you're moving, you're always in that third person, which I feel like makes it better to watch just because it looks a little more cinematic. Like going back to Helldivers, I feel like that's another reason why Helldivers is so fun to watch, is it's always in third person, and when it does switch over to first person, it makes sense in context. So I don't know. It's an interesting one.
I do like the idea of like the quest cam. Is that the one where you put behind you so people can see your character?
It's basically an in-game phone that allows you to record third person
They've used that in like VR chat for a while, right?
Yeah, like VR chat has their own version of it. Basically, this company came out, they're called QuestCam, and they built their own that developers can basically just drag and drop into their game, and it just lets people make videos. I do a lot of my posts on the CellVR social media using that QuestCam now, just because it's third person. It's so fun.
That's interesting because I feel like it's not standard practice for a like multiplayer server for you to render your own character, right? In first person.
Typically,
so that's something that people are having to do now. That's interesting.
That's also like a very unique thing to VR. I guess not always, but in VR, a lot of times, especially if you're doing multiplayer stuff, like you have to render your own. Like there is something to looking down and seeing a body, whether it's yours or not.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that.
I don't know. It's kind of an interesting. I feel like that's another like game design debate in the VR community. Like I am of the opinion that you should always render a body. And some people are like, no, you just render the hands and you're fine. And I'm like there is something mentally about like looking down and seeing your body, especially like if you're trying to sell, just like, and especially if you're trying to sell cosmetics and stuff, you know, in your game. Like if you don't look down and see like what you have equipped, no one cares, you know.
Yeah.
So
what do you think about that, chat? Do you like having a body or not having a body?
Ooh, we should make that a poll. Let's do a poll real fast.
Arlen says he likes having a full body. Full body. That's interesting.
Full body avatar.
Yeah, floating hands do look weird.
It does. It looks weird. I remember like in Sail single player we had floating hands, and it just never felt right to me. And like one of our big things that everyone wanted to have when we had that was it's like they wanted to have it come over. Yo, VR Central showed up. What's going on, dude? Nice to have the option to toggle it off so that people who don't want it. Yeah, no, more options is definitely a good idea. But I feel like default, you should have a body, in my opinion. Especially if there's like a physical presence.
Somebody else gave that same answer, is it's nice to toggle it off because there's already FOV limitations.
For sure.
So, body gets in the way.
Definitely does.
Interesting.
It's an interesting debate, and it's kind of curious to see like which games do and which games do not do that. But
not full body is interesting. I kind of liked the monkey do approach where you have just a tiny body.
Well, I mean, like the Gorilla Tag isn't technically a full body either, right? Like the Gorilla Tag is a half a body and go gadget arms. I don't know. kind of an interesting one.
Yeah.
But I don't know. VR is like such a new space. It's always funny to talk to like other game devs in like the flat screen space, because they're like I feel like there's very established rules in flat screen gaming about like what you should and should not do. Whereas in VR, it's still such a wild west. Like we just still don't know what should and should not be done.
Yeah.
But, anyhow.
I have such an itch to make a video game now. I've been making commercial stuff for so long. I know I've said it before. Like, I've been kind of doing video game stuff now a little bit. And I want to make, so I'm actually doing a challenge this week. No, not this week, this next month. Using scans. So the challenge is you have to make some sort of video game either using a physical location.
Ooh.
So a game based around a physical location, or scans from physical objects.
Ooh.
And using those as assets. I think I'm gonna do scans from physical objects and create one of those anger-inducing games, like To the Top.
Oh,
or
getting
like,
over it.
Getting over it.
Ooh,
yeah.
Interesting.
So just use a bunch of real-world objects as like the things that you're climbing, because they do that a lot anyway.
Right.
But I'm just gonna go around my house and scan, I don't know, a water bottle and like my headphones, and use those as the meshes inside of the video game as a platformer, like an anger, like type of thing. Or if you fall, you just have to start over.
Dude, that going back to our talk about genres we haven't seen in VR yet. Rage games.
Like an anger game.
Rage games, dude.
Game.
Like, I don't feel like there's been a rage game created yet. That's like,
yeah, that's pretty true.
that's such an interesting. I saw a port of Getting Over It in VR, which looked really fun. Like that looked freaking funny. But
with the pauldron that you're sitting.
Yeah,
in.
like you literally have the thing, and you have to like get yourself up. It's funny, dude. I've always thought that'd be interesting
with Gorilla Tag movement.
I mean,
like,
that's practically
do a
it is,
game
right?
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that practically is Gorilla Tag movement. It's just you have this one hammer, and that's your one point of getting over it. You know.
What do you guys think? Would you guys like to see a rage game in VR? If so, like, what would you expect in it? Because there are different types of genres of rage games, right? You have like your Flappy Bird rage game, but now you have like your Getting Over It rage game.
Yeah, Getting Over It rage game. What was the other one? Is Goat Simulator considered a rage game?
No, I don't think so.
That's just
not like
glitch
there's
game.
not like a real
rage mechanic to it.
Yeah, rage mechanic. There's not an objective to the game, I feel like.
I've had an idea for a rage game, that I want to. Maybe I'll make it someday. Who knows? But it would be. I don't have a name for it or anything. But the whole premise of it would be that you take all the things that are labeled as sins in the Bible, and you make it so that if you do them in a video game, you lose. So it's like if you sit there idle for too long, it'll be like thou shalt not be idle, and you lose. And so it's like trying to live a perfect life, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, it's another rage game I just thought of is Jump King. Have you seen that one?
Jump King, no.
That one's one that I saw for a long time. People were breaking their keyboards.
Jump King.
And that one's like a simpler concept where you just hold your space bar to like give yourself power to jump at a certain angle.
Yeah. I saw some dang funny clips of this. Yeah, those. Yeah. It's like also those like Mario levels. See, that could be interesting with Gorilla Tag movement if you let people create. Like, oh, that's the other one that used to be a rage game. It was Happy
Geometry
Wheels.
Dash would be fun.
Happy Wheels.
Happy Wheels.
Do you remember that game?
Uh-uh.
Oh, it was so funny. Like, it was all based off of user-generated content, but you basically created these like, levels that people had to pass, and like some of them were stupid hard.
It was the dad with the kid.
Yeah, on the bicycle. They were so funny.
That game was hilarious.
That game was classic. That's like classic 2014 humor right there.
Dude, we need to bring a game like that to VR. That'd be so funny.
But like, think about it. If you
I'd love
did
to see a compilation of people breaking their controllers.
Gorilla Tag movement on like a platformer like that, but it's like rage induced. So like people like put traps and whatnot to try to make it so they can't get over. That'd be funny.
Dude,
oh, there you go.
Concept right there.
I've got so many concepts right now. It's bad. I'm itching. I'm itching to make a new game.
You haven't made a single player game.
I have an idea for one.
A rage game. There you go.
There's the rage game, but I also have an idea for a single player horror game that I want to make. Actually,
Okay.
yeah. I don't think I'm gonna spill too much about that one because I'm one of these days I'm gonna crack and make it. It actually exists. Yeah. It will exist within the SailVR universe, but it will be like very much more lore induced. It's cool. It's cool. Just stay tuned. It'll be sick.
I think rage game is a good genre that hasn't been explored a lot. I still feel like roguelikes, there's something there that hasn't. I played a roguelike this weekend. So I loved Hopu, what's it called? Hopu Games makes it, or they made it, and they just got bought. Let's see. Let me find it.
Hopu Games.
Risk of Rain. So it's kind of like Risk of Rain.
Yeah.
I used to love Risk of Rain too. And there was a game recently that came out called Gunfire Reborn. It's like a first-person roguelike, but kind of like a Risk of Rain more.
Okay.
Where you're finding objects all around the map, and they make you stronger based off of the objects that you buy, and you do different builds based off the runs.
Okay.
That'd be a fun VR concept where it is expected to be like a roguelike, but you kind of... I think there was one. There was a roguelike for VR that I played once.
I think it's called After the Fall. No, that's No, it's not After.
Until
you fall. Until you fall. That's a pretty good roguelike.
It'd be interesting to do that with, again, gorilla tag mechanics now though. Like there are different mechanics that weren't invented, when that game came out.
That's
it's
fair.
A fun game.
That's fair.
But it's a lot of like pressing forward to jump into combat and then pressing back to jump out of combat. But now you can have like a gorilla tag thing where you're kind of jumping around everywhere and using a shield, and I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Because with like the idea of gorilla tag mechanics, you can recreate so many games that have been made in the past that maybe weren't like up to snuff, right?
It would be really interesting to make basically like the same combat as like Arkham, like Batman Arkham, but with gorilla tag movement. So like bouncing off of people. I saw this game this week called Rilla Shotgun. Have you seen that?
No.
It's basically Doom, but with gorilla tag movement. It's classic, dude. Like, I freaking love it. It's awesome.
So, how much do you watch game developer YouTube?
Kind of depends.
Like Blackthorn Prod.
I haven't watched Blackthorn in a lot. I was actually watching a Danny Dev video today.
Okay.
Even though he hasn't been active in a few years, I love just like having his stuff on in the background because he's so funny.
Oh yeah. There was a let's see, $0 to $5,000 video game challenge. So basically, the winner got paid a ton of money. I don't know. They changed the name of this video recently. It doesn't make sense. $0 versus $5,000.
Yeah, I watch a lot of. I feel like I watch a lot of like VR quick clip stuff, and then, who's the one that I was watching recently? Oh, I watched this whole interesting thing on procedural animations.
Okay. Yeah.
Fascinating stuff.
Oh, dude, procedural animations are crazy.
Procedural animations are crazy. And the way that this guy was using it, and the whole game concept that he basically built around procedural animations and stuff was like really cool. Yeah. Gosh, I can't remember what the name of this game is. I'm gonna find it because my brother sent it to me, and I was looking at it because it was such a fascinating concept for a game.
So for anybody should look up a fun game. We're talking about these mechanics where you're like jumping around everywhere, like gorilla tag. This one's called Gun Frog. So the concept is you're a frog that just ate a shotgun. And you're like trying to get through all the different levels. You're killing all these enemies, whatever. But the whole movement mechanic is you have you're this frog with a double barrel shotgun sticking out of your mouth. So whenever you shoot the gun, it actually shoots the gun, but shoots you backwards physics-wise. So your shotgun is your movement mechanic, but also your damage. So to like move forward, you have to shoot the gun behind you, and then it'll shoot you up in the air, but shoot you forward. And then that's how you like move around. Like that'd be such a fun game in VR, where
that's funny.
You have to stay off the ground and like fly around.
Squirrel
But
attack
instead of
movement
like
with
Spider-Man
shotguns.
mechanics, you're like using physics mechanics from the projectiles of the gun that you're shooting.
Oh, okay. The game that I was talking about is called Synthetic Selection. If you guys haven't seen that devlog, it's super fascinating. Yeah, Synthetic Selection. That's a good one. But yeah, that kind of reminds. Did you see that game that just came out called Squirrel with a Gun?
I think I've heard of it.
It's so funny. Like going back to games that are fun to watch, that game is classic to just sit and watch because it's so funny.
It reminds me of the stupid crab game where you had the knives and you're the crab. That's a roguelike as well.
Yep.
You remember that one?
Oh, what was
the
that
Crab
called?
Rave song. Yeah, and then they made a video game from the musician that did that. Made a video games that used the same assets as the Crab Rave crabs.
I fetching love that.
And then he made a soundtrack for it that's freaking dope.
That's fantastic. Oh,
Big Squirrel with a Gun. I'm gonna have to play this one. This
dude,
is hilarious.
isn't that funny? Like, squirrel with a gun.
Launcher.
The way like these guys had a great marketing campaign and stuff because like this popped up all over my TikTok feed and whatnot, and it is so funny to look at because it's a squirrel with a gun that's like the size of itself, and you can keep getting bigger guns. Like you can fetch and get like a Barrett 50 cal, dude, like a rocket launcher. Like, oh my gosh, it's classic. That's just like I love games that just totally take out context. Like it's just fantastic. Fantastic stuff.
Somebody just asked if we've ever played Cult of the Lamb. I love that game. That game is so much fun.
Cult of the Lamb.
Anything that's published by Devolver Digital is like a must play in my book. I played Angerfoot the other day. That one's funny. It's a speedrunning game where you kick people, and like that's your whole killing mechanic is you just kick them to death.
Oh my gosh. The Cult of the Lamb is interesting. I actually listened to their lead marketer talk about how they marketed the game. So funny story is he's actually an accountant by trade. Like that's what he like trained to become, was an accountant.
Okay.
And he applied his accounting skills into the marketing aspect of Cult of the Lamb, and like they have gone viral time after time after time. Like it is such an interesting they've done a great job. Really, really interesting GDC talk. If you ever get a chance to look at it, that's a really cool one.
Well, I feel like let's see, another one. Thomas Brush. He interviewed him on his YouTube channel. He interviewed the lead dev of the game about how they designed the game because they don't use a game design doc, and he talked about how they tested out different mechanics to come up with the right ones for the game.
Interesting.
It was like a 2-hour podcast. Thomas Brush interviews a lot of really interesting indie devs. It's really cool. I like his stuff a lot.
I listened to his interview with One Star Games, the guys that did Choo Choo Charles. That was a really interesting one. Yeah. I really like the game dev behind Choo Choo Charles. His new game looks so good. That prison escape game.
I'm so excited about it.
We gotta play that one on stream, dude. That one would be funny. That's a good one.
Somebody's talking about. Have you ever played Human Fall Flat?
Isn't that coming to VR?
Yeah, they were just saying it's coming to VR. That sounds like so much. We'll have to play that one.
That would be
if you want a good
dude.
laughing. I love Human Fall Flat. Like the ragdoll physics is one of the funniest things ever. That's gonna be crazy.
Wait, that's gonna be fun, dude. Wait, when is that releasing? Human Fall
the 31st. They said.
Wow. Hey, we actually got a good lineup this month for like new VR games.
Yeah.
Human Fall Flat. Batman released today. Jeez.
Yeah.
What else? I feel like there was another one.
There was a game that I was excited for coming to VR because it's a TV show that I watch a lot called Taskmaster. It's a British I guess comedy game. It looks like it didn't perform very well.
Oh,
so it's a show where it's got 4 stars. Not terrible. It's a game or it's a TV show where there's one guy who's the Taskmaster, and basically he just makes the 5 contestants do crazy stuff to win his approval. and he gives points to whoever did the best in the performance or in the stupid skit. Like, it's the stupidest, most British TV show ever, and my wife and I have watched every season of it. But it just looked like a bunch of mini games. Like, it looked like a lot of fun because it looked kind of like a Mario Party type thing.
Okay.
You're just doing a ton of little mini games in VR.
Okay.
But people are saying like the updates have been really good for it. So maybe it's just the initial launch was not so good. But I really want to play that one. That one looks like a lot of fun. I love Taskmaster.
I'll have to look into that one. Oh, Trombone Champion is coming as well. That one looks funny. Trombone Champ VR. Dumb Ways to Die. Free for All in VR. Exploding Kittens VR. Did you ever play that? Did you ever play that board game or card game?
Exploding Kittens, yeah, dude. I love Exploding Kittens. That's a good one.
The one that I like more than Exploding Kittens that I wish they would turn into a VR game because I think this would be super funny is, did you ever play Throw Burrito?
Oh, fuss yeah, dude. That'd be so good.
That would be so much fun in VR. For those of you who don't know, Throw Burrito is like a card game where at some point it turns into dodgeball, basically. Like, there are these things that happen with drawing cards where eventually you pick up this foam burrito in real life and you just start hucking it at people. And it's literally dodgeball at that point. And so that game in VR would be classic, dude. That would be so fun. Dang.
I feel like I'm surprised that there aren't more companies like Hasbro that are just creating a suite of their board games in VR. Like, I feel like that's such low-hanging fruit to have a multiplayer VR board game where you have all of the IP from like popular board game companies that you can just play multiplayer with. I don't know. I feel like that is such a low-hanging fruit that I am surprised that people aren't coming and making inside of VR.
The thing because I saw I feel like it was a Kickstarter for exactly this. But the problem is they wanted to build their own platform for it. It was like this independent company who was basically making knockoffs of all these popular games. For whatever reason, like VR just doesn't have sway yet for like stuff like this. But like that would be such a sick feature. Like if Meta teamed up with Hasbro and made it so that in your home space in the Meta Horizon or whatever, you could play board games with your with your buddies. Like that would be a major selling factor. Just be like, hey, like come jump in. We'll play some chess or we'll play like Uno or Monopoly or whatever, you know? Like, yeah. I'm with you, dude. I think that's a super low-hanging fruit.
Even if Hasbro did it, like, I don't care. Like, sure, whatever, but like, just have Hasbro recreate Monopoly and freaking the Game of Life, like some of their top 5 games. Just have a Hasbro board game VR game.
Yeah.
That just makes sense. Like something that you can play with your friends and yeah, just like a game night thing. I would play board games in VR with family that I'm not close to, you know? Like my wife's family, we used to play board games every Sunday. And now that we've moved away, we can't do that. But it'd be fun to just throw on a VR headset and jump in and do a Monopoly night or whatever. Like Settlers of Catan. I don't know.
I've heard a lot of so there's that game Walkabout Mini Golf, which is another interesting movement mechanic game. But I've actually heard several stories of people who say like they get their parents or someone they don't live very close with a VR headset and like that's the game they go play. They just go play Walkabout because it's such a simple, fun, casual game. That is a fantastic game. Like,
dude. My friends and I do board night or boys night every Thursday. And just thinking of mini golf, there's a golfing with friends. Have you ever played that game?
Golfing with friends? Wait, is that the
golf
Steam
with your
game?
friends? Yeah, where you just troll each other. We need something like that in VR. I'd love to have like a game where you and your boys just hop on and just troll each other for like 45 minutes, and it's so stupid.
We need more troll games like that or something like.
Yeah, just like super casual. Again, there's like, and I feel like Gorilla Tag is probably that. Maybe we're just not in the right demographic for those types of games.
Maybe not.
I know like golf with your friends is pretty dead for the most part, but
it was super popular on stream for a little while because it's like you're just playing golf, but everyone's playing at the same time and you can run into each other, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's a funny concept. I feel like you could do. Did you ever play Monkey Ball on like GameCube?
Yeah.
I feel like something like
Super
that
Monkey
could
Ball.
work really well in VR.
Yeah.
Huh. Most
I
interesting.
Yeah, there's so many fun concepts that have yet to be explored. It'd be fun to just come up with like I don't know. I feel like there need to be more sandbox games, like games where people can make their own. But you have VR chat, maybe not. I don't know.
VR chat, like, so this is actually kind of a bigger problem. I've talked to a lot of my VR game dev friends about this, and it's like there needs to be better community creation tools inside of VR games. So like perfect example is like Gorilla Tag, right? Like I feel like actually you and I could jump into Gorilla Tag and probably have a really good time, but Gorilla Tag is not very good about providing like that kind of community building type stuff, like private servers and stuff like that. Like they have it, but it's not super accessible. I don't know. Like it's something we've talked a lot about, especially for like Sail, where we have people who want to build like clans and stuff inside of the game. And I find that like an interesting concept because it would be so much more interesting to be able to jump into like an instance of Sail where you know the other people you're going to run into are also members of your clan, you know?
Yeah.
Just because like you jump into a rando, like I jumped into a rando lobby in Sail and I was like so disappointed with my own community, like just the stuff they were saying to me, and they didn't realize I was the game dev, but I had to go ban like 3 people because I was like, oh my gosh, like what is this crap? It's funny though.
There's one thing. So when Monkey Do was being developed, one of the things that I really tried to get them to do that I still think would be so dope if they could figure out how to do it was add in a sandbox mode. Like one of my favorite memories of playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater was, I think it was Pro Skater 3, where you could create your own skate park.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, or like what was the game that I played sandbox mode on all the time? Fetch. I mean, like going back to that, like Happy Wheels, like 99% of the content that was in Happy Wheels was user generated, you know, and there's like a whole rating system and stuff.
If you think of like Mario Maker, like that is a successful video game on its own.
Yeah.
It's just like creating a sandbox game where you have. Could you imagine Monkey Do where you have like 50 different assets you can choose from and you can choose the objective of the game? I feel like that would be such a successful thing where you drop everybody at the same spawn point and like say you wanted to do a race game mode and everybody's trying to get to the banana at the end, kind of like a Fall Guys game mode where everybody's trying to race to get to one banana at the end of the map, and if you get there then you're the winner. Like just giving them freedom to create their own versions of games that they want to make, but doing it inside of the editor. You're right. I feel like that would, or inside of the game itself, that'd be such a cool way to get user-generated content in and get people like playing it more often. I don't know.
No, that's interesting. We've got Sunny in the chat who's saying that like Bone Lab is super popular because of how customizable it is. But like it doesn't have native multiplayer, you know? It's like you need those two aspects, like native multiplayer and user-generated content, and you'd have pretty stellar game.
So VR Central said there's you can pair other apps with Gorilla Tag to make fun maps. So Grab is a full sandbox game.
Oh yeah, Grab.
Where you build. But like, why would you not just make a game where that is the whole game? Like give them a couple of game modes pre-built, right? A couple of different map layouts. And then essentially just give people a free-for-all on letting them create sandbox games and just use Gorilla Tag movement.
That is interesting.
Like integrate it into Gorilla Tag, just a sandbox VR game where they're just making their own stuff.
That is what this Grab game is looking like now that I'm watching the trailer. It's very much like, like movement and generated content. That's interesting. I'll have to get that one to try. I know that's a super popular one right now. Wow, that's crazy. And I mean, like Rec Room and stuff, like that's pretty much like the whole basis of Rec Room, right? It's like 90%.
Can you make stuff in the game though?
Yeah, they have like a whole scripting language too. Like you can like script stuff too. Kind of crazy.
Oh, Grab does look pretty cool.
That's an interesting one. I might have to check that one out.
It looks more like a rock climbing type thing.
Yeah, Yeah, for sure. I don't know. UGC is really hard. We actually looked into creating a whole sandbox editor for hard drive.
Yeah.
But like that whole just UGC is kind of a complicated thing because you have to come up with a way to basically export it to the cloud and download it based off of like several things. And there's ways to do it, but it's you have to kind of think about it a little harder than you think about most things.
I think it's like, yeah, I know somebody that's making a node editor in a VR game right now.
Oh, interesting.
For like an educational experience. So it'd be interesting to talk to them about their experience of creating a node editor that's like built into VR.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have like a scripting thing. It just makes me think of like if you're doing UGC with a sandbox game, you'd have to do something like Maquette, where it looks like in Grab they have something where you have like just shapes and stuff. You can make yourself super big and place things and then kind of jump in and play it. I don't know. That just sounds really fun. And I mean, as a nerd, like I would love to have something like that for Dungeons and Dragons, where I create a Dungeons and Dragons setting and have like a bunch of stuff that happens whenever the players are in there and they're kind of playing a video game, but I'm controlling everything as a DM type of a thing. Like I go in and create the settings beforehand. I don't know.
There's a really cool Dungeons and Dragons. It's exactly what you said. It's like it's a VR map editor where you create like a Dungeons and Dragons world, and then you can jump into it as a VR character. So like
I saw something like that once, but I never saw the final release of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now, and I can't seem to find it. But I don't know if anyone knows what that is.
Yeah, I did. So Roblox is in VR.
Dungeon Full
that's
Dive.
A lot of where I'm thinking of a lot of this UGC is, because Roblox just hit another milestone. I think they had like, what was it? Roblox just hit a giant concurrent player milestone. I think it was over 10.8 million players at a time.
Wow.
They said it's bigger. It has more concurrent players inside of Roblox than every game in Steam has, except for the top game, or like something like that.
That's wild. And I going back to what we were talking about, like at the very beginning, Roblox. I didn't realize how accessible Roblox is. You can play Roblox on everything, like to the point of accessibility. Roblox does it as good as anyone. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh. 10 million concurrent players. That's wild.
Let's see. It was August 4th. The last metric was 9.9 million concurrent players. But I think if I saw the numbers correctly, they hit like 10.8 or something, somewhere in the 10 millions.
Dang.
Like high 10 millions this month of concurrent players, which is absolutely bonkers.
That is wild. I did a video on like Shopify and Roblox coming together, and it's kind of interesting. In the comments I was interacting with a lot of people asking them like, what would you and wouldn't you buy in a video game? And a lot of people were kind of like, it was kind of interesting the different things that people were like, I would absolutely not buy this, but I would consider buying this, you know? Like a lot of people were saying like, I'd be okay buying merch in a game, where it's like if you bought it in the game, you would get you would get it in real life. That kind of makes sense. But a lot of people were like they were very mistrusting of like things you would typically buy on like Amazon or even like foodstuffs, you know? It was very interesting. Kind of the Ready Player One pizza moment sounded exactly. Because apparently
exactly.
Apparently we did it though, like way back when. We made it so that you could buy stuff in this little, like they had Uber Eats before anyone. Like freaking Nintendo,
awesome.
Man. It's crazy.
I've been hearing a lot of rumors about a Nintendo VR headset.
I hear that too. I am very skeptical. Supposedly the Nintendo Switch 2 just got leaked.
Yeah.
There's always leaks. I see nothing.
We'll see. I think a Nintendo VR headset would be dope. It'd be so funny if the first game that came out was like a Retro Boy recreation. Like everybody's expecting these awesome graphics, and it's just like the Retro Boy.
I can see it. The thing is, though, if Nintendo did release a VR headset, if they released an open world version of like Zelda in VR, that would slap so hard. Like, holy crap. A Metroid game in VR, stellar.
That'd be crazy.
Super Smash Bros. In VR, if they could figure out how to pull that off, that would be sick.
Dude, that'd be nuts.
It'd be absolutely wild. I don't know. If anyone could do it, they could.
Yeah.
But,
and yeah,
I don't
they
know.
do have the Labo. They also have the Mario Kart game, which is pretty interesting, where you have the real Mario Kart thing. Have you seen that, where you have the cameras attached to RC cars and they live stream?
That one was interesting. Like, that was kind of a cool augmented reality use case, I thought.
Yeah, they're doing some cool stuff.
Yeah.
But
VR.
Nintendo, if they did VR, that would kill, dude. Could you imagine? That'd be so much fun.
Like again, like with the exclusive titles they have, if they were to push into it, they would do well.
I want Star Fox so bad. I can't tell you how bad I want another Star Fox game.
Why don't they do that? That is such a good IP. What the crap?
That style of video game like isn't super popular anymore.
Oh
the
man,
type of like cockpit shooters that they did for Star Fox.
Dude, I played the crap out of this Star Fox game that was on the GameCube. Like,
yeah,
that was
an
fantastic.
open world one though. That was like modeling a lot of what people really want from Star Fox is that Ubisoft game, the
Squadrons.
No. Ubisoft made the let's see. Let me find it real fast.
That one of the
Starlink
games.
Battle for Atlas. So you could fly around to all the planets. It was a pretty open world space game. The only problem was you couldn't get out of your vehicle. So you were flying around in low orbit or on the ground of a planet inside of your space ship.
That's kind of cool.
It was fun. It was an awesome game. Underrated. I loved Starlink Battle for Atlas. It was a ton of fun.
It looks like Star Fox. Wait, is it Star Fox?
Well, they have a DLC for it. So if you buy it for the Nintendo Switch, you can play.
That's awesome.
They had like 4 special missions for Star Fox.
Okay, that's cool.
So I have the Star Fox, like Starlink Battle for Atlas, because it was a Toys to Life game. So you buy the toys and you plug it in, and it changes your ship in real time.
Oh, I miss those games, dude.
Yeah, like
Those are so
Skylanders
fun.
and all that.
Skylanders, dude. I feel like something like that could work in virtual reality. Not like actually buying a physical product, but like having a virtual thing that you earn in game and then can then deploy. I don't know. I feel like someone could make a pretty sweet like Yu-Gi-Oh type game or something like that.
I was just thinking about that too.
That would be sick.
The Toys to Life, but like collectibles.
Oh man. See, that's the other thing Nintendo could do if they jumped in the VR space. They could make a Pokemon VR game where you could scan your cards and like bring the actual character into your site.
Dude, screw Nintendo VR. I want Power World VR. Give me a freaking machine gun. Nah, I will say yesterday, so my wife was out at book club with her friends, and I sat down with my daughter, and she's almost 2. And I was just looking through Netflix because our Disney Plus was signed out and our Hulu was signed out. So normally, like, when I'm hanging out with her, we watch animal documentaries because I'm a nerd. But instead, I was just scrolling around and I saw Pokemon was on Netflix. And I was like, what is this? And it was a remake of the original Pokemon movie in 1999. They remade it with Mewtwo. So we watched that full movie and freaking... I'm crying because I remember the first time I watched that movie in theaters when I was a little kid. Going to the theater and getting this special limited edition Pokemon card. But then like when Ash turns into stone and he's like, all the Pokemon are crying, I'm sitting there crying and my 2-year-old doesn't understand, but she loves Pikachu now. So then we started watching the 2000s anime of Pokemon and we watched like 6 episodes of that last night. So... I'm a little Pokemon nerd now.
You're back into
Not
it.
even 2 years old yet. Yeah, dude.
There you go. Start them young.
I'm gonna watch all the Pokemon again.
Dude, there's some solid quotes from the Mewtwo that I still think about. Those are solid.
Yeah.
Fetch, dude.
We
are out of time.
I feel like we are. The 2000s, the second Pokemon movie with Lugia in it is so underrated. I loved that one.
That's a solid one too. I actually never saw that one. I saw most of the Mewtwo one, But dude, for whatever reason, I did not get into Pokemon Face. I like somehow skipped that. I don't know why. Like everyone makes fun of me because I've never played Minecraft and I've never played Pokemon.
Well, let's jump into both of those. I will, if you want to play those on a live stream on a Thursday, I will play both of those video games with you.
Dude, I think we're gonna have to at some point. I told chat that if we hit some ludicrous amount of subscribers, we're gonna play Minecraft because I gotta get into that game. But we're getting there.
I had a original Game Boy with Pokemon Yellow.
Yo.
So I was in deep early on.
Yep. You are single-handedly keeping Nintendo alive. Just kidding.
I know somebody it is for real, actually, though.
All right. Well, we are just about out of time. Chat, if you've got any last questions for us, let's do some rapid fire. We didn't even get to talking about the Quest 3. This is what we were originally going to talk about today, but hey, this is what happened when Declan and I get rambling. We go off. That's why we turned it into a podcast. So that's what happens. Let's hear it. Minecraft VR horror? Wait, there's Minecraft VR horror? Oh gosh. Yeah, Captain Monkey's got a question for me. Let's hear it, dude. They should make an animated movie about the lore that leaked from Pokemon. Yeah, no thanks. No thank you. We don't talk about the lore that leaked from Pokemon.
I didn't hear that.
Don't look it up. Definitely don't do that.
Oh. Right, I'm doing it right now.
I'm skeptical about how much is actually like real from those, but yeah. Horror mode. Load the VR mod. Might have to try. I do want to try out the VR mod for Minecraft, but Chimps. Will you check out Chimps Life VR game? Let's take a look. See. Chimps Life VR. Chimps Life the revamp. The heck?
Dude, that lore is funny. I feel like I've seen stuff like that before, just in the past.
I feel like it's just bad fanfic that like maybe internally they were keeping note of.
Yeah. What's the one Pokemon I'm thinking of? Obviously, people are saying Mr. Mime, but let's see. Let me find it really fast.
What is this Chimps Life game, dude? Oh man, I know the game that I'm gonna make with Gorilla Tag movement now. I know exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make Muck.
Oh, Jinx.
I'm gonna make Muck with Gorilla Tag movement.
I'm surprised there's not more of like the freaking. My friends have been. I haven't played it yet. I've been watching them play on boys' nights, but they've been playing Valheim for a while.
Yeah, Valheim.
I played the first time we played through it. This is like the third time with the new content, so I'm just watching. But Valheim.
That's it. What is that called? What is that
that'd
game?
That'd be a fun one to recreate. Survival.
You think that would work with Gorilla Tag movement?
For sure.
I think that could be fun. What is Valheim? It's like Valheim and Minecraft and Muck are kind of all in the same category, but what do you call that category?
Yeah. There's survival games.
Is it survival? It's like resource games.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love Muck. Crafting games. Muck is fun because like he combined the roguelike element to it, you know?
Yeah.
Like that game is just hella fun. Like, it's so good. Muck.
Pokemon lore is that Mr. Mime is with Ash's mom.
Yucky.
Did they never? I don't remember them ever showing Ash's dad.
Not that I can.
Because she talks about him all the time at the beginning of the anime.
I do not.
And I don't remember ever seeing it.
I don't.
Seeing him come up. But
we're getting into deep lore now.
Yeah. I think it's time.
It's time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been most fun hanging out with you guys today. Like always, if you didn't catch us live today, you can catch us on the audio version on Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and what is it, Apple Podcasts? Is that the other one we do?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good time. Go find it out there. All the links are down in the description below, and we will be back next Tuesday at 1 p.m. to talk about whatever the heck else we talk about. We just start rambling. It's a good time. And that is all. So, we got that.
Thanks,
got that
everybody.
last one. Cell VR series. Oh, someone's trying to 1v1 me in Cell VR. Yeah, if you can find me, bet. Come get it.
Garrett's not really good at video games, so you'd probably win.
Sadly, it's the truth. Somehow I'm the worst gamer there is.
He just makes them.
I just make games so I can't actually play them.
Yep.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging out with us. We will see you on the next one.
See you guys.